I honestly feel, and I may not have said this to you when I was younger because I was more sensitive, but as you get older you get complacently wise. And basically all Indigenous people feel that the government would be quite happy if we didn't exist. The mother is the Buddha and she is the giver of life. All women are connected to the earth because we are givers of life to seed, just like the earth, and all men are connected to the animals because they are connected to the blood because they're protectors and providers for their families. For us, we are extremely young species, the human being, and there are a lot of creatures that have been here for a lot longer than us, and that's why we call ourselves custodians, because you're only supposed to be looking after it and handing it on to the next generation in better condition than when you received it yourself. And no amount of plastic money can buy back fresh air, good earth, or pure water once it's poisoned.
Cool. Yeah, so I've heard you speak about basically people who live here being custodians or potential custodians. How would you see Indigenous cultural knowledge empowering that kind of activity?
For us, we are part of an ancient culture, and all the elders say that if your spirit was born on this land, it belongs to this land, because your human body is just made of meat, fat and bones, but the spirit is unique and eternal, and that's what is in each and every human being. But when the human passes on, the spirit passes on too, to the next life. And the next life, because we believe in reincarnation, is dictated by the life that you have lived. So your next life, you might be a tree, a fish, or a frog. So it's in your best interest while you're human to look after the air, the earth, and the water, because in your next form, you might not have so much capacity.
Interesting. So what's been your experience so far with dealing with white bureaucracy, and they're sort of well-meaning at a certain level, but what's the actual energy transaction at the end of the day, or what are some of those issues having to deal with white bureaucracy and all that kind of stuff?
Okay. For me, as an Indigenous person, having to deal with politics of today is quite frustrating because, as we earlier spoke, today is the celebration of not celebration, but recognition of the deaths in custody. What's the word I'm looking for?
Royal Commission.
Royal Commission. And as was declared by Pat Dodson yesterday, basically a lot of those issues have gotten worse 3 times fold. I honestly feel, and I may not have said this to you when I was younger because I was more sensitive, but as you get older you get complacently wise. And basically all Indigenous people feel that the government would be quite happy if we didn't exist.
So in academia, there's a focus on local culture or bioregionalism becoming like the foundation for looking at how an ecologically compatible economy could operate, or ecologically compatible society might operate, or at least more compatible. When you look around, do you see there's progressive elements that could bring that kind of thing together?
It is something that can be easily achieved, but it's got to always be based on sustainability. As Australian government have already seen, by chewing up and spitting out Australia's resources, there's nothing left for tomorrow's tomorrow. The ones of us that walk the land today have to think about tomorrow's tomorrow, not just our today. And that means our grandkids' grandkids. We want them to have the same benefits of good air, good earth and fresh water as we do. But already, because man's ignorance for money, which is only plastic, people are already walking around with a mask because there's so much population and pollution and disease in Asia. People in Europe are drinking water that's been recycled up to 8 times already. And places like Fukushima, Chernobyl, Nagasaki, Bikini Atolls, Miralinga, to name a tiny little few. That poison from radiation, and radiation is invisible, but it'll be there for hundreds of years to come. So realistically, the human has to be fully aware that we share this planet, we don't own this planet, and without a lot of the other biodiverse plants and animals, we don't have much at all. And as soon as you start taking links out of nature is when things start to fall over. And when something's perfect, why try to fix it up? This planet's perfect and it will survive without us, but we can never survive without the planet. So we really have to learn how to fully appreciate it by having sustainable economic progress, not just economic progress for the sake of economic progress.
And if that progressive trend was to come about, how would you see Indigenous culture complementing it or helping to educate it or help it along?
At the end of the day, the elders have always taught us that we are all universal people sharing one nest, and if we look after the nest and look after each other, life is truly good. And sometimes when I get frustrated by some people's ignorances or intolerances for certain things, I'm always reminded by my elders that in life, some people will get older and wiser, others will just get older and older.